Welcome to this comprehensive explainer on essential oil formulation. Look, you already know that working with botanicals is incredibly rewarding. But today, we're going to elevate your skincare formulation from casual, intuitive mixing to safe, precise, and entirely science-backed blending. We're taking a really close look at exactly how to harness the remarkable power of essential oils without compromising the skin barrier or overall health. So let's get into it. Okay, let's dive into this. We've got a great roadmap for today. We'll be covering 5 key areas. First, the power of potency. Second, safe dilution and dermal limits. Third, precision, specifically drops versus weight. Fourth, synergy and aromatic blending. And finally, essential formulation best practices. All right, Section 1, the power of potency, concentrated extracts. You know, true formulation really begins with a deep respect for our ingredients. I mean, consider this staggering number, 5,000. It can actually take up to 5,000 kilograms of raw plant material to yield just 1 single kilogram of essential oil. Think about that for a second. That means a single drop contains a massive, massive concentration of chemical constituents. There's this super common misconception out there that just because an ingredient is natural, it's inherently gentle or risk-free. Well, in reality, these are highly concentrated, volatile compounds, and they require strict respect and careful handling. And that immense concentration, it builds directly into our fundamental safety protocols. Renowned aromatherapy expert Robert Tisserant puts it perfectly. He notes that dilution is absolutely crucial for 2 main safety reasons. 1, to avoid skin reactions like irritation, sensitization, and phototoxicity. And 2, to avoid systemic toxicity. It makes total sense, right? All this incredible plant potential must be dispersed properly. If you apply it undiluted, or neat, as they say in the industry, you run a very real risk of localized skin damage. We're talking severe irritation, allergic sensitization, or even chemical burns. But honestly, perhaps even more concerning is the unseen risk of systemic toxicity. This is where excessive amounts of essential oil constituents are absorbed right into the bloodstream, which can potentially stress the liver or kidneys over time. Definitely something we want to avoid. Moving right along to Section 2, safe dilution and dermal limits. Now this is really the scientific core of our explainer. A dermal limit is basically the maximum recommended concentration of an essential oil or aromatic compound for safe application to the skin, derived from toxicological data. So the crucial point here is that these dermal limits are not just arbitrary numbers pulled out of thin air. Not at all. They are evidence-based maximums, and they're derived from rigorous toxicological data, chemical constituent analysis, and strict safety assessments, like those from IFRA, the International Fragrance Association. These limits are specifically designed to protect your skin barrier and prevent allergic sensitization. And remember, once you develop an allergy to an oil, it can literally last a lifetime. So getting this right is an absolute game changer. When it comes to general dilution guidelines, your percentage is entirely dictated by where you're applying it and how often you're using it. Let's break it down. For a sensitive face or a leave-on facial product, you really want to keep that total essential oil concentration incredibly low. We're talking between 0.5% and 1%. Now, for a body lotion that covers a much larger surface area, bumping that up to 1% to 2.5% is totally standard. You really only ever want to push into the 3% to 10% range for acute, short-term, highly targeted treatments. Think of something like a strong muscle rub for a sprained ankle, or maybe a quick dab on a bug bite. You would absolutely never want to use those high concentrations for your daily all-over body care. Okay, but here's where it gets even more specific. Some oils require much stricter limits because of a very specific danger, phototoxicity. Expressed citrus oils contain these compounds called furanocoumarins. If you apply these to the skin and then step out into the bright sun, they can actually cause severe burns and blistering. It's no joke. Look at how incredibly low these maximums are. Expressed bergamot is restricted to just 0.4%. Expressed lemon and grapefruit are at 2%, and lime is all the way down at 0.7%. If you formulate a product using these oils above these strict limits, the user literally must avoid all UV exposure on that skin for at least 12 hours. Which brings us to Section 3, precision, drops versus weight, because precision really matters. Right, so here we're tackling one of the biggest debates in the formulation industry. There are basically 2 schools of thought here, and your production scale totally alters the approach you need to take. First, you have the drop count method. It's fast, it's flexible, and honestly, it's perfectly fine if you're just mixing up a tiny 1-ounce personal bottle for yourself at home. On average, you can estimate about 30 drops per milliliter. However, and this is a big however, if you are crafting professional, large batches for retail, you absolutely must use the weight method with a precise scale. Why? Well, think about it. 20 drops of a thick, heavy oil like vetiver is not going to weigh the same as 20 drops of a thin, runny oil like sweet orange. Depending on drops for a large batch introduces a massive margin of human error, and that can easily push your final product way past those safe dermal limits we just talked about. Plus, measuring by weight is absolutely essential for allergen math. Regulatory bodies often require you to declare specific sensitizers in your finished product, so here is exactly how you calculate that. Step 1. Find the total percentage of the essential oil in your formula. Step 2. Identify the exact percentage of the specific allergen in that raw oil. You'll find this right on your supplier's GCMS report. Step 3. Simply multiply the essential oil percentage by the allergen percentage. So let's say you use geranium oil at 2% in your formula, and the supplier's report says that specific batch of geranium contains 15% geraniol. You just multiply 0.02 by 0.15, and you get 0.3% geraniol in your final product. Finally, step 4, you cross-check that 0.3% against IFR maximums to ensure your product is perfectly safe and legally compliant. You see, you simply can't do this kind of precise, crucial math just by counting drops. Let's transition to Section 4, Synergy in Aromatic Blending, the art of blending. Okay, now that we understand the strict safety rules and the math, we can finally look at the creative application. Synergy is basically a carefully formulated blend where essential oils reinforce each other, creating a result that is greater than the sum of its parts. You see, blending isn't just blindly grabbing random bottles from your shelf and hoping for the best. It's about purposefully combining specific chemical families so they interact. When you achieve true synergy, the oils actually enhance or temper each other. For instance, a calming synergy of lavender and bergamot works beautifully and harmoniously together. But on the flip side, too much peppermint might aggressively overpower a really delicate floral. Basically, in a truly synergistic blend, 1 + 1 essentially equals 3. And this brilliantly illustrates how we actually build that out. The 3:5:2 blending ratio is a fantastic standard for formulating a really balanced, evolving aromatic profile. Here's how it breaks down. You generally want 50% of your blend to be middle notes. These are really the heart and soul of your fragrance. Then 30% should be top notes. Those are the bright, fast evaporating scents that hit your nose right away. And the final 20%, those are your base notes. These are the heavy, lingering oils that really anchor the blend and actually stop those lighter top notes from evaporating too quickly. Using this 3-5-2 framework is a foolproof way to prevent any single oil from just completely dominating the whole shebang. And that brings us to our final part. Section 5, Essential Formulation Best Practices, Professional Habits. If you want to formulate like a professional, you've got to adopt professional habits, right? These are the standard operating procedures necessary to maintain your blend's integrity over time. First up, always store your essential oils and your final blends in dark amber glass bottles, kept strictly away from heat and light. Why is this so critical? Well, because when terpene-rich oils, like your citrus or tea tree oils, are exposed to light and oxygen, they oxidize. And oxidized oils have a significantly higher risk of causing allergic skin reactions. Definitely not what we want. Next, once you create a blend, let it rest for 24 to 48 hours. This lets the different chemical constituents really marry together and evolve. Also, always mandate a patch test for new products. And lastly, meticulously document your exact recipes by weight, including all those allergen load calculations we talked about earlier. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on for your own practice. Knowing what you now know about the immense, incredible power of 5,000 kilograms of plant material concentrated into a single little bottle, how will you elevate your next formulation? How will you apply these dermal limits and professional techniques? Because honestly, it's time to step up from just adding drops until it smells right and start engineering a formulation that is deliberately safe, deeply effective, and perfectly compliant. I really hope this deep dive has empowered you to formulate with absolute confidence. If you found this breakdown valuable, please engage with the content. Leave a comment down below about which synergy ratio you're going to try first, and definitely don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth formulation explainers. Keep learning, keep blending safely, and I'll catch you in the next one.